and maybe make a statement, but we'll have to limit your time just in the interest of meeting our agenda. And also, just because it's visually more accessible to have 4 images on the screen, if we have 4 people already and you want to maximize your video, please wait until somebody closes their video and then you can open yours. Because if we have 2 people opening at the same time, we end up with 5. I think the images are too small to read very easily. I think that's it for the communication rules. Thank you. Oh, you wanted to talk about mirroring. Yes, recording. So we have an official recording of this to meet state public meeting laws. So if somebody misses the meeting, they can always watch it afterwards. And also it helps the people taking minutes to be able to refer back to it. They can write a rough draft. And when we do edits, we do an approval of the final draft. And then we can let you know that it's available. And that way we're transparent, we're accessible, and everybody knows what's happening during our meetings, both because we have the recording and we have the minutes. When you want to see who's here, there's a list of participants you can click, and it shows who are staff people and who are general public and commissioners. So I don't know if there are any public comments prior to us beginning the official business of the meeting. There is a person who wants to make a comment. This is Danielle Laughlin. You can make a comment now. You're visible. Great. Go ahead. Hi. So Danielle's saying, I saw on the agenda for today that you're going to be appointing an ad hoc committee members related to referral for sign language interpreters. And I'm worried about rushing the process. I don't see that there's been any outreach to the general community trying to bring people in and recruit people. And RIAD has not been able to discuss with our members to see. I would like a little bit more time rather than moving forward with the appointing. And I understand that people are wanting to move forward, but I am concerned about that.
Organic.
This is Bhumi. Bhumi, you're joining?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you open up your
Yes.
video because you want to say something? Are you making a comment?
Can you hear me?
Bhumi, your connection may not be strong. We're not able to hear your voice very well. And your camera is up so that we can only see the top of your head. Hi. So if you could repeat what you said, because we couldn't understand it. Oh, and you're muted right now. You're muted. You need to unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
And what's your comment? What did you want to say something to the group?
No, I was talking to someone before I joined, so it's like you heard me. I was talking to someone. I'm still in the office. I was talking to someone.
Tim saying, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So this is one of our commissioners, just introducing you to the public. So if you could reduce your video while we're meeting, unless you wanted to make a comment, it's just easier for us to see. So if you're able to turn off your video just for now, and you can see, you can watch the meeting, but that way we only have 2 or 3 people on the screen. Thank you. That's great. And the comment that just got made by Danielle, I'm very well aware of it. And we do want to do more outreach. Maybe we'll do a short update today and have a discussion about the ad hoc committee. And then more people will be available and we can approve those. it's given as an agenda item, so we certainly can discuss that when that agenda item comes up. Thank you for your comment, Danielle. Are there other comments at this point? I don't see any. So we have meeting minutes from past 4 meetings. We have May 20th, June 16th,
17th.
June 17th, September 16th, and October 14th, which was just last week. So Bethany is going to put those minutes into the chat. You can click on them and open it. Those were also sent out to the commissioners ready for a vote. So you should have them also in your email if you want to open them on a separate device or on a split screen. But that way we can do edits and Betsy Beach will correct the minutes and then we can approve the final draft. We need to have, oh, Kimberly Marther's just joined. So now we have all 7 commissioners. Great. Bethany, how did you want to, did you have something that you wanted to say? I'm sorry. And you're muted.
I'm sorry, I put all of them in the chat. I will send them again because we've had a few late entries.
All right, very good. The public can always get a copy by contacting me. I'm happy to email that out. And also it gets posted. The final minutes are available to the public also because they're posted. Very good. So is there anyone who'd be willing, or is there any edits right now to those minutes for all 4 months? We can take them one at a time, or we could take them as an aggregate. It depends on how people want to deal with that. But if there are any comments, I'll entertain those now. Betsy Beach, if you have any corrections from commissioners, could you please let us know?
Yeah, nobody's said anything to me. The latest minutes were longer, the 10-14 meetings. So Carolyn and I worked on those together and we both reviewed them. I don't have any word that anything needs correcting.
And thank you, great. And all right, so Betsy's closed out and now Caroline's speaking. I just want to make sure that we don't have 5. Did you have a comment, Caroline? Oh, and you're muted. Sorry.
Yes, come on.
We can, oh, no, now you went back to mute. Sorry. No, now you're muted.
Unmute.
Now you're unmute. Oh, and it's muted again. Unmuted. You're unmuted now. We can hear you
good?
now.
I'm good.
Yes.
Okay. For the September 16th meeting, I just have one correction. Gary Bliss, this is under the executive director's report. Gary Bliss works for Project Medicaid, not medical. And it's Medicaid AE at Prospect Charter Care.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Any other corrections or additions? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept all 4 minutes as posted, as corrected, excuse me. So if nobody's saying anything, I don't know if that means that people are reading or that they feel like they're content with how the minutes look. Yes, Tina? Sorry, and you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Some of us were only commissioners for the third and fourth dates. We weren't there for the first two. So I think we have to break them up in different approvals.
That makes sense. We need to figure out for the members. There were 4 commissioners who could approve all of them. Me, Betsy Beach, Brett Hayes, and I don't know if it's Kimberly. I don't know who is on which month. So yes, we should take it month by month instead of all together. You're correct, because some of the commissioners may not have attended one of the meetings and they can't be approving minutes. But we need at least 4 to approve the minutes. And it's also possible that a commissioner was in attendance who is no longer part of the commission, and we do need a formal vote.
I have the minutes open in front of me, so I can tell you who was at the May meeting. Betsy, Caroline, Gina, who's no longer on the commission, Tim, Brett, and Claudia Martin, who is no longer, correct? So yeah, Betsy, Caroline, Tim, and Brett for the first month. For June, Betsy.
Second, sorry. Betsy, did you want to say something? Because now there's 5 on the screen.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from May 20th as written.
Very good. Betsy has so moved. Is there anyone who wants to second Betsy's motion?
We can't because it's only 4 commissioners. The people who are here, we have 7 commissioners, so we can vote. But as far as approving those minutes, we need the 4 people who are still commissioners who were there. We still have a majority of 4 people out of 7 vote. I think we can go ahead and vote. Right, okay, then I second.
Very good. Caroline seconding. Perfect. So for May, if people could type their responses in the chat. This is for May 20th. All right, I see Caroline and myself, obviously. Brett, yes, aye, very good. All right, so there's 4 of us. The other folks who are here at this meeting today weren't there on May, so we're approving the May minutes. Very good. So if there's no one opposed, then it passes. So we've accepted the May minutes from May 20th, and now we can move forward. June 17.
Joan, instead of switching, why don't you just stay with Tim and I'll just take everybody in the audience for now.
Okay. So for June 17, are there any corrections? Do we, if there's a motion to accept the minutes, or if we want to make sure who was there?
Betsy, you showed up for a second, but
Yeah. Okay,
And
there were
I'm sorry,
5.
yes, thank you. So Betsy, you're there. I just want to make sure you're the fourth video available right now. Great.
There were 5 of us at that meeting. Kimmy and Brett were not there. So I think Tim, Betsy, and Carolyn would be 3 out of the 5 people approving. I would make a motion to accept the minutes from June 17th as written.
Second.
So Caroline just second, all in favor of?
Sorry. So what do we have? 3 people. We have Caroline, Betsy, and myself. We're the 3 who were there. Who are there others? Who else was involved in that meeting who might be here today? Any?
No, it was Claudia and Gina were also there. There are only 5 commissioners present, 2 of whom aren't here.
Oh, Tim saying. So what can we do about that? Can we move forward and vote if there's only 3 of us still here who attended that meeting? Yeah, Betsy.
3 out of 5 is a majority of us who were there. So I think that still would account as the majority approving the minutes. The majority of the commissioners there saw the minutes and approved them.
Tim saying, okay. I'm wondering about if any of the other commissioners object. I mean, people can abstain, but if there's anybody who truly objects. Okay. So I don't hear any objections. So we are passing that motion then. June 17th, those minutes are approved. So now let's move on to September 16th. Caroline brought up a revision, and that's been incorporated. Are there any other revisions or any suggestions for edits on September 16th? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written with the correction that Caroline put in.
So I move that the minutes be accepted as corrected.
And who will second? Tina Nelson just sent a chat message to me saying she's seconding. So I think at that point, September, most of us were there. So we can go forward with a straight vote. Who is in favor of this motion to accept the minutes as corrected? Caroline?
Yes.
Great. Betsy, I see that. Tina is 3. I'm 4. I don't know if the others who are here want to vote. Oh, Kimberly. Hi, Kimmy. And Brett. So that's 6. So the only other person is Boomy, but I don't know. I think she was there. Isn't that true? She was there in September. I'm seeing something. Brett was there. Okay. Well, we have 6 votes. Anything over 4 is fine as long as there's no objections. So I'll count that as the motion being passed to accept the minutes for September 16th. Very good. So the final one of the 4 is just from last week, October 14th. And I don't know if we're ready to review them and approve or whether we should table it until the next meeting. Tina.
Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. I was just about to make a motion to go ahead and approve it.
So we do have a motion on the floor now from Tina. There's a second.
A second.
Oh, Betsy, were you going to second? It doesn't really matter, of course, but so are our folks in support? I think all 7 members were there last week. So people are chatting, sending chat messages. So I'm counting myself as 1. And I see Betsy Beach. Okay, Kimberly, Brett, Tina, Caroline. Where are we at? We're at 6. So is Boomy, is she able to vote? Boomy, are you approving this? You can send it in the chat or appear as opening your video, either way. I mean, I just want to make sure that you're able to participate. Is there anybody who is opposed to it? Okay, if not, the motion carries. So we can accept the minutes for October 14th as written. So we have finished all those 4 approvals. The minutes from past meetings have been posted as a draft version. Now that we have corrected them and approved them, we will send up, we'll post the final version. We always post a draft because with the Open Meeting Act, we need to have 35 days limit before things appear on a website, and we do. So we've met that. We have a chairperson's report, and it's pretty brief. I first wanted to congratulate Ernest Covington III in his role as Executive Director of the Rhode Island Commission. He has just completed his first year. He started October 15th, I believe, in 2019. And so on October 15th, he celebrated his 1-year anniversary with us. And I have to say, coming in October, this has been one of the most challenging times ever facing the year 2020 together. And I really appreciate his work. And I feel like there's been a lot of progress made. And I really look forward to more collaboration.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for your comment. I really appreciate that. Yes, the year went by so fast, I can't believe it, but I was really happy to be a part of this. And thank you so much. So I just wanted to share, the executive report, if that's okay with you, Tim. May I get it proceed?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Tina, for your kudos to me. I really appreciate that. First of all, I want to talk about the budget for 2021. Okay, so I want to let everybody know that, it hasn't passed legislation yet for the fiscal year of 2021 yet. That has not been done yet. So I'm still using the fiscal budget from 2020. And so I've been kind of moving the budget around a little bit, trying to fill some gaps and stuff and keep it running. And so I'm hoping that the legislation will pass our budget request for 2021 so that we can proceed with a full budget that we requested. I also want to let everyone know that, I made a comment the last time when we had our meeting that 15%, there was a 15% cut, which is about $90,000. Okay, that's been a reduction. So there are 2 things now. One is the unconstrained budget and also the constrained budget. Okay, so on these 2 budgets, let's talk about the unconstrained budget first. Okay, so this is basically where we will have enough money, to cover about $650,000. So I already made a proposal to see if they can add an additional for another full-time position.
Yes.
And so I think, because it was basically we needed that to have a little bit extra support staff here among us. And so Holly, that person would, basically help Holly, myself, and also Mike Bear. Okay, because what I've noticed, when we, the workload has really increased and it's getting heavier for all of us. So it'd be nice to have a fifth person in here to basically, keep things running a little bit more fluidly. And so, that's the unconstrained budget. Now, in terms of the constraint budget, I made a proposal to see that since it was a cut about $90,000, I already had my discussion with the staff and the faculty to explain that this is what we were facing, but we will not touch the faculty's salaries or benefits. So therefore, I have the authority to make those accommodations to earn about their salaries and stuff to do so. But as of now, I don't plan on doing that, okay? Because I know that everyone here at the commission is working very hard. So I'm going to be looking at some other budgets where we can look for some of those cuts, how we can make the adjustment. Might be training, traveling, because, since, prior to, me being a direct, taking down this position, we traveled a lot. But because of the pandemic that we are currently in, travel is not an issue anymore because we're not traveling. Okay, and we know that traveling is, is a big cost. So I think basically we can get and continue another year, or maybe perhaps the next 2 years to resume training at a later date. So I'm going to take it from the traveling category and the training category. Now, another, when we talk about contract services, okay, now with the understanding, we've basically had 2 or 3 contracts. And right now, I plan on using just 1 contract. Okay, instead of 2 or 3. So I think 1 contract would be sufficient. Previously, we had one with
Bethany Link.
Bethany Link on that contract. We also had Elsbeth Brown. And then we also had
Erin
Furtado. Okay, those positions will still be good to, resume until June 30th, okay, because of the pandemic. So we're going to keep those positions in place. Now, the next category I would like to talk about is the interpreting services, okay, for CART services and so forth. So I don't mean that we're going to basically reduce the people, the personnel that we have, but we're going to take a little bit more scrutiny in terms of how we spend our money. And the reason why is because since the pandemic has really hit in the beginning of February, we have not been meeting in person. So instead, we've been meeting on Zoom. So, when I counted all the money that was being used for the meetings, which was basically any type of meeting that was taking place, personal meetings or, EPCAP meetings.
Personnel meetings.
Or committee meetings. There was those 350 meetings that we've had since, February. 350 meetings. Okay, when the onset of the pandemic started, now it's probably around 375 meetings we've had, which means that, we're going to have to pay the interpreters, we're going to have to pay the car for all these meetings. So I'm not trying to make any cuts there, but I think we really should use a little bit more discretion of when we're going to use these, meetings and have these meetings. Now, often in the frequency of these meetings. Now, the commission meetings, maybe instead of 10 times, we might meet 6 times instead of 10 times. So we might talk about the frequency, the healthcare committee, perhaps maybe the employment committee or something. Maybe we can meet, bi-monthly instead of once a month. Something. We got to be a little more creative in how we set these meetings. And also with the CART services and, and the interpreters, that would be using them wisely in terms of how we can, change the frequency of it. Okay. But it's not cutting out the meetings. So basically, I'm waiting for legislation to overlook our budget, see if it gets approved or not. And if so, then I just want to let everybody know that among the commissioners that, I've already submitted that budget report, which was due last September 30th. I already sent that in on time. I have a copy for all of you to look at and to review to see, what was cut and how we are spending our money and all the details that were in that budget proposal. So if you would like to have that, just contact me and I'll be more than happy to send that to you by email. I can send it to you in a PDF format and then we could look at that. But right now, because of the sake of time, I'd rather not just do it at this moment right now because, there are about 60 pages in that budget proposal. So I figured what I would do is send that to you and then afterwards you can read that at your own time. But let me give you an idea of what it looks like. This is it. Okay, 60 pages for the budget proposal. So if you want a copy and a hard copy of that, I can send that to you and then you can send it back to me. We can do it by email or whatever the case may be if you want it by mail or by internet. Now, I am happy to make an announcement that I just received recently, the FEMA, Okay, and that was approved, and they're gonna give us $15,000 match. Okay, in terms of what we spend for the budget that's related to the COVID pandemic and so forth. So FEMA had agreed to pay us $15,000. At first, I asked them for $50,000. Unfortunately, they said no, that can't be done. And we finally got it down to 15,000. So it's better than nothing. I took that. Now, FEMA's perspective is a little bit different. Okay, so FEMA's perspective is that $15,000 would be spent on interpreters, filming, you know, where EPCAP Mike Bear usually sets up their, you know, CST meetings and stuff to disseminate the information that's been going on with the pandemic, you know. And so I also started paying also for the press conference that's been taking place. FEMA was willing to cover those costs. Okay, so now we talk about the kits or anything else that I asked for. They said no, there were a lot of items that would not be covered because they considered that they were not life-saving matters, life and death matter situations. That was their perspective on it. So the kits were basically, they said that's not a life-saving matter. So it has to be related to, you know, life and death situations where that money would be sent before they would approve to give us support in that. I found that very interesting. Regardless, you know, the other federal agencies that contacted me, and now I'm working on something right now, and they're focusing on equipment, such as right here, I ordered the laptops. We had placed an order, you know, for everything that was related because of the pandemic. For technology, we're using federal money for that, so they have reached out to me. I've already let them know what we spent so far from February to now in terms of all the equipment that was involved, what the staff needed to work from home and so forth like that. So I already put that into the report, and I'm actually working with them right now. We are currently in negotiations about that. So I don't see that we're going to lose any money. I believe that we're going to try to get a match so that we can keep our budget rolling, you know, rolling along. So once that's passed, then we will get that lump sum from them later on. But currently we are running without that match right now. Okay, so that's it for my budget report. Now, the next item I would like to address is some faculty changes, okay, for staffing, okay? We lost one position. Actually, we lost two positions, two staff members on contract. And that was Erin Furtado, who is no longer working with us as a COVID employee. And so also I want to let, she's over at she became a full-time teacher at the Rhode Island School for the Deaf. So she's working there. So that was the end of her term for that reason. She has a new job. Now, Elsbeth Brown, okay, she was currently working with us, but now, you know, her hours have been reduced because she had transferred back to her old job, which was at the Rhode Island School for the Deaf as well. And so because of the pandemic position is now vacant. So we are in the search right now to find a person to find that for a full-time position. And that would be good until June 30th of 2021. Okay, and so the federal money that has been given to us for that will cover that position and keep that position safe. We received about $30,000 for that. So that should keep us going to June 30th of 2021. So that wraps that position up pretty good. Now the staff changes, that's all that pertains to that. Now the next item I would like to address is Pam Zellner. Okay, program manager here at the commission. Okay, first of all, I want to thank you, Pam, for all the hard work you've been doing for hosting Deaf Awareness Month. It was very good, you know, but, you know, the numbers that turned out for that event was very low, and I understand it had a lot to do with the, you know, pandemic. A lot of people were not accustomed to working through Zoom, and I know there was a lot of work to coordinate that, you know, and so there was a lot involved with that, you know, so it was a good start. But Pam, I want to thank you for all the effort you did on that. Now, Pam is currently working on virtual coffee hour. Okay, so instead of having that, I don't know when it's going to be from Pam.
Instead of an hour, it's going to be a week.
It's going to be a week. So Pam was thinking that, you know, basically we were going to have, you know, because of the pandemic, nobody's going to come at the annual event like we did, because we did that every time and everybody would show up at the State House. So because the State House is not available to the public anymore, Pam was thinking of a creative way of why not having it as a virtual coffee hour. And I really thank you for that idea, Pam, because it was a great idea. So we both agreed upon that. And so we want to focus on topics. We want to talk about justice. We want to talk about social justice and equity for the coffee hour. And so we're trying to focus on how we can get different presenters, guest speakers to come to the virtual coffee hour. So we found 3 different people, okay, that are going to present. And really, they're very good topics. All 3 of them are BIPOC individuals, with the understanding that all three of them are deaf. ASL? No, they're not. Okay, one is deaf, who knows sign language. The second person is deaf-blind. Okay, and then the third individual is hard of hearing, that uses a cochlear implant, that uses oral speech. So we wanted to balance that out, because historically we've been hearing people that, you know, the commission is too ASL, too strong deaf. So we wanted to give it a little balance so that we can have something that would be accessible and represent all the communities that we serve. So we seeked out to get presenters in those categories. Now, each of those individuals is speaking for approximately about 1 hour. And then, you know, they'll be making introductions, and then they will begin their speech and so forth. So we thought that was interesting. And last, you know, on November the 16th or 17th, I think Pam, why don't you help me out with you? Was it the 16th or 17th? I'm not sure. It was the 17th. Okay, thank you, Pam. I really appreciate that. Okay, people spoke for 2 hours, and that's when we had the large attendance at the State House, when we'd hear those speakers speak for 2 hours. And then, so we were wondering, you know, with the desk and tables and exhibit booths that we normally had, we had about 20 or 25 tables or exhibits set up there. So what are we going to do in place of that? So Pam came up with the idea of maybe doing a short little video on each of the people that represent those various organizations and so forth, in terms of the services they provide and so forth, so that we can record that information and then basically give them a 2-3 minute slot to speak about that, and then break them down into different categories. And then one day we might, you know, do a filming and present, you know, with the speakers that represent those organizations and put them out there. And so, and the people that are involved, so people can attend those virtual meetings. So when we talk about hosting those 4-hour virtual, I think that would be a little bit too much to put on Zoom for one coffee hour for one event. So Pam came up with the idea of splitting up the coffee hour, you know, by 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour over a 4-day period, where people can actually watch that as it's being recorded and so forth. Okay, and this would all be from June 5th to November 17th. So we're going to stretch that out.
November 5th to 17th.
November 5th to the 17th, and we've stretched that out. And each one will be about an hour long, and they can leisurely look at that at their convenience. Okay, that would be equivalent to the 2-hour coffee hour that we had where everybody came in. So there'd be 2 hours worth of videos. So I was wondering how that would look. And then basically we looked at
Sanderson?
Sanderson. He's a deaf individual over at Benmo,
In Utah?
from Utah. Now his concept was similar to ours. He hosted an award ceremony and so forth, and he had 250 people that attended his Zoom meeting. I watched that, and that was fascinating. I was very interested to see that, but he had 250 participants. Pam, that goes back to you. I would like to really give you kudos for taking that initiative. So what I want to ask you, Pam, right now is that maybe we can add the awards, if you want to add that into the event for the coffee hour virtually. How do you feel about that, Pam? I think you covered everything, Ernest. You know, for example, for the exhibit booths, it's not really about filming them, but having a slideshow with them with various pictures of those different representatives from those organizations. And basically have their names put up, their contact information, their pictures put up there. And then with all that information there, their address of how people can actually access them and call them by the number and so forth like that. So there's only be 20 seconds each. It'll be very short. But in total, we would have about 30 exhibitors, about 28 exhibitors. So if all of them, you know, approve, you know, to have their pictures posted in that virtual coffee hour, then I would do that. So it's going to be 20 seconds allotted to each exhibitor. And it'll be a slideshow instead of a video vlog or anything like that. Because, you know, because of the time, because we have to use the interpreters to actually use that. And there are many exhibitors that don't use sign language as well. So therefore, to use the money wisely, we would have to bring in the interpreters to cover that. So to meet on Zoom to actually cover the interpreting of their projects and their organizations they work with. So we did it in a slide format. But pretty much, I think that's about it, Ernest, because you covered everything. Thank you, Pam. I really appreciate that. Okay, the next item that I want to speak about is I would like to thank, you know, the Christine West from the HSTP committee. And I want to thank you, Christine, because, you know, she's been working so hard on, you know, the surveys. and sent them out to the public. And so I really want to thank Christine West and her team for working so hard for that on that survey project. It was amazing what they did. And the people that went out there that were deaf and hard of hearing, please, if you saw that survey, this was from Gallaudet University, that survey, so we followed that format. And then, you know, when she did all the survey and had that sent out, they were going to give them a stipend of $25 to the public for those who filled out that survey. That was part A. Now part B was about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Now part A only took about 10 minutes, so we didn't give a stipend for that. But part B did require a little bit more of their time, so we gave them, you know, a little gift card for that. So I wanted to let them know that HSTP was really great. They did an amazing job, you know. So they, you know, I've hosted, you know, surveys before. They were kind of boring and so forth like that. But this event where they took over, it was like just awesome, you know, in terms of accessibility and stuff, and how it was clear. And the people were signing, you know, the questions, they were signed also in video. The answers on the multiple choices, they had it signed that, and those multiple choices. And for those that didn't know sign, they cover every facet of communication. I was just amazed, you know, how they went. And it went 45 minutes. So, and because it was accessible at ASL, so I think, you know, that survey was one of the best surveys I've ever seen, you know, and I took that survey myself. So many of the deaf and hard of hearing people and the commissioners took that survey. And then we sent that out to the public. And then when we sent that out to the public, that was only for the people that lived in Rhode Island only. Okay, and they had to be 18 years and above of age in order to fill out that, you know, survey. But the fact that they filled out that survey was very beneficial for the community. So Christine, I really want to thank you and your staff for really making this happen and become a reality. So Christine was also working with Rhode Island College. And the person that was running the Rhode Island College is Marie Lynch. She was basically responsible for setting up the interpreter training program, and what an amazing job. You know, we had a meeting, a little retreat for about 4 hours last Saturday. So this was early in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. We all got, you know, showed up at that meeting from 8:30 and it ran to 12:45. But it was just an amazing meeting. It was so productive. You know, we learned so much. We were brainstorming, you know, sharing our ideas. And, you know, we didn't even finish. You know, it wasn't enough time. You know, I can see where, you know, this training program, where it's going to go. It's going to happen. It's going to be launched, and it's going to be self-sustained because of the students. There are a lot of students that are very motivated. They're passionate about this program. They want to become interpreters. There's a big desire out there. When we looked out there in terms of Massachusetts, you know, it's very expensive to get those done. So we want to have our own homegrown interpreters within the state of Rhode Island. So there's a lot of amazing work that's taking place. So last Saturday's meeting was not the first. We're going to have a few more. But based upon what happened last Saturday, I can see this really going to be very successful for the future. So, you know, we got a great team there. We're having a lot of discussions. Tim Riker was there. Christine West was there. Quite a few stakeholders were there.
And Charlie Thorne.
And Charlie Thorne. Yes, Charlie Thorne. Let's not forget him. So really, it was just amazing, you know. So Christine, I wanted to ask you if you have anything you would like to add.
And I can interpret for Christine.
Okay.
I thank you, Ernest. Appreciate all that support. And I just want to add a few brief comments. You've already hit on the major highlights, so thank you. And I also want to reiterate congratulations on your 1 year of service. We're very lucky to have you. So yes, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing survey has been out as of last week. Thank you for mentioning that. That is the contract that we have with Gallaudet University. We did have deaf researchers who developed that particular survey and who have expertise in deaf health surveillance. It is completely accessible in ASL and English, the very first time a comprehensive health survey in the state of Rhode Island has been fully accessible in both languages and available on an online platform. So we're thrilled about that. We hope that folks here who meet the criteria and eligibility, which is at least 18 years of age, deaf or hard of hearing, and a resident of Rhode Island, I hope you will consider taking this survey. It'll also be the first time that the data will be included in a national data set that Gallaudet will have, and so that will help inform national research as well. So we hope you'll partake. And of course, the incentive is the $25 check that you will get after taking the second part. So please spread the word. We will be doing more aggressive outreach and marketing. We are relying on folks through RIAD and also senior citizen centers. We want to reach out to the VA centers. I've asked Betsy to share with HLA. We've reached out to Perspectives. We want to include those folks who are in congregate care settings and group homes. We certainly don't want to overlook them. We're hoping that Mike Baer will share with the CST team, spread the word. And we also want to include folks like our Deaf Hispanic cultural group that Mike and Margie Malloy meet with. We understand that not everyone has access to technology, so we want to be able to provide other alternatives to folks to be able to access that survey who may not have the means to do so. So that's looking good. I just want to talk about the healthcare worker survey that we've had out for a little over a month now. Again, that survey was sent to about 20,000 people, and those are healthcare workers who are working now, plus those students out in the colleges and universities. So far, we've received to date 1,050 responses. For those individuals who haven't responded to the survey, every week we send out a reminder, and those responses keep growing. So we'll continue to do that until we start to see the responses level off, and then we'll close the survey. We've used those responses to start developing trainings, online trainings for those healthcare workers. And for the next month, that's what staff are focused on developing. We'll be using a few different software programs to do that. We have to be creative now with COVID. We can't do in-person trainings. So we'll be using design software, Canva, and we'll also be using a Canva, C-A-N-V-A, and a presentation software, Prezi, P-R-E-Z-I, and we'll also be using Zoom in video. So that's our healthcare survey and our trainings.
Christine, I
Zoom
heard,
and Zoom and just video. And then finally, for the interpreter program, I just wanted to add, we had a great meeting last Saturday for our retreat, and we were able to flesh out a lot more for the program. And I have to say, the advisory group that's assembled, just an amazing group of people, great ideas that flow, just we really mesh well together. So I'm thrilled. I do want to say that we have two different programs that we're envisioning. The first meets the requirements of the HSTP grant, and that is a public health certificate, and that's for interpreters who are already experienced in interpreting and want specialized training in healthcare and public health interpreting. The more general interpreting program for newer interpreters will come after this first one is developed and implemented. So that is coming down the line. But everything looks good so far. Again, I just want to thank the folks at the commission, Ernest, Pam, Mike as well. Thank you for setting up the Sorensen VP app for me, Mike. Appreciate it. I got that set up today. And also Bethany and Holly and all the folks there. So that's my report. Back to you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you. Thank you for your kind comments. Really, I'm really amazed. I can see the future. It's looking bright. Okay, and the last thing I want to discuss was about my first year in terms of the success and so forth. First of all, I wanted to do something different. You know, I don't want to say anything about me. This is not about me, but basically I wanted to show you how much, you know, the Rhode Island Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, you know, I mean, it's just amazing, you know, how valuable this team that we have here. I cannot do anything, and I couldn't continue without you. I have to acknowledge every one of you. So, you know, the staff members that we have here, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, you know, and so I'd like to talk about their work and their passion, you know, and their desire, you know, because the faculty that I have works so hard, you know, and so I don't want to make any comments about me. It's really about my faculty, you know, because their process and everything that they're doing and the work they're doing. So first of all, I'd like to start off with Pam Zellner, who is the program director. You know, she has been a great help to me, amazingly helpful to me. You know, I have already seen that she's got 4 full-time jobs, and I basically can see that she's working full-time jobs. I mean, most people can't do 4 full-time jobs, but Pam is doing it. Now, why does she do 4 jobs? Okay, let me tell you. She does a budget report, which means that she has to do all the adding, the calculation, getting all the numbers together, the data. She has to do the invoicing and stuff, and, you know, the MPA information. So she does this on a daily basis, you know, and she's in the computer doing all that entry and sending out everything. Now, you know that invoicing, when we talk about many government agencies, they usually get, you know, a check, you know, every 6-7 months, and you're waiting constantly for government pay with the red tape. But she's getting everybody paid and sending that money out within a month. It's just amazing what she's doing when we compare her timeline compared to other agency timelines. So I want to commend her for, you know, she's prompt, she does her work efficiently, quickly, and she does a follow-up on that. I've seen her. Now, the second job that she's also responsible for is not only as a project manager, but she also takes a lot of Deaf Awareness Month. She's hosting a lot of, you know, Zoom meetings and so forth. She's hosting the coffee hour. She's
Hearing
hosting
loss
all
month.
the time. You know, so, and she's well known. She's got contacts out there in the community, and they all reach out to her, and she responds to them. I have a lot of respect for Pam Zellner. And the third position that she's involved with is information referral. Basically means that Pam is responsible. You know, we here at the committee, you know, say, do you mind, you know, sending out this information on Facebook, Zoom, social media, Twitter, and stuff like that? Pam is there, and she rises to the occasion, and she gets that out there on a daily basis. So I said, do you mind posting this on Facebook? Never does she ever, you know, have a frown on her face about it. She's so willing at all times, stepping up to the plate and doing that with a smile on her face, and happily so, you know, and that does consume a lot of time. And Pam is making that time for that. So not only in addition to the third one, but, you know, she's doing all this and staying on top of social media. That in itself is amazing. Now, when we talk about, you know, in terms of being the secretary, you know, when we get information, she is the secretary for our entire staff here. She does the follow-up, she gets the information out. So that's a lot of, you know, a lot of responsibility to be put on one plate for one individual. Yet she does all this. She's amazing. I really have to tip my hat off to her. You know, 4 full-time positions she's covering. You know, that is hard work. You know, so I'd like to thank her for her work and her support. You know, I've learned so much through her. So Pam, I really appreciate who you are and why, in that fact that you're on our staff. And then also I'd like to talk about Holly. I also want to take my hat off to Holly as well. You know, she has a very strong, you know, willing desire to learn. You know, she's willing to make, you know, adjustments and stuff. She's trying always to become a better worker at all times. She's learning the processes and so forth. And Holly knows that that's a big responsibility, being the interpreter referral individual specialist. So, you know, she's very positive, and most of the time she's always working. I acknowledge her. She takes responsibility well. She's willing to learn. She's willing to take, you know, adjustments, you know, to do her job better. She's always trying to become a better advocate, you know, for the community. And I recognize that about Holly. She works very hard, you know, and she's basically, you know, trying to get out there to get those requests filled. You know, sometimes she gets about 2,500 to 30,000 requests, you know, per year. And so a lot of interpreters will reach out to her and, you know, question and ask for information. She's on the phone all the time and, you know, responding to people by email, answering people's questions and stuff. So she has to do a lot of follow-up and stuff like that. And that is a big job, just being, you know, an interpreter coordinator, referral specialist. So I want to thank, you know, Holly for her patience, her willing to, you know, make adjustments and so forth to improve. She's always here, you know, in terms of trying to be, you know, and do her work what's best for the community, for the deaf and hard of hearing, as well as serve the interpreters themselves. So I wanted to just, you know, acknowledge, you know, Holly, you know, that she's also been taking ASL classes, because, you know, she wants to show the community that she is dedicated and willing to make changes. She's willing to learn. She wants to become better at her job. So I really want to acknowledge Holly for that, and for her patience and her perseverance. She struggles a lot, you know, and if I were her, I would have walked out of that position. I gotta be honest with you. I couldn't deal with all the stress that comes from being an interpreter referral specialist, but she hangs in there. So I really want to, you know, pay a lot of respect to, you know, Holly for what she does, and she does it patiently as well. So Holly, thank you for your hard work. Now, next I want to take off my hat to Bethany Link. Now, Bethany, she is a contract employee, but she does so much work. She, you know, she's there to support Holly. You know, they learn from each other. She's learning different positions from all of us here at the faculty. She satisfies a lot of requests. She wants to know how she can accommodate everyone. And since the pandemic started, she says, well, let me step up. I can do this. I can set up the Zoom. I can actually moderate the Zoom meeting. And that came out of nowhere. And I said, well, you know what, Bethany? That's yours. You can have it. So she's been taking all kinds of training to learn about this. I didn't ask her to do this. She did this voluntarily. She stepped up and did it voluntarily. And that's amazing to have somebody step up. So Bethany, I'd really like to thank you for that. I can see a big improvement in the work that she's doing from the beginning of the Zoom meetings. And now how far we've advanced in our Zoom meetings now, you know, and the public is actually happy. They've been responding because now they have, you know, access to our meetings. So Bethany, she's just amazing. She's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful, hardworking individual, and she'll do anything. And also she takes on a lot of responsibility. You know, she edits our work and stuff, you know, because, you know, I'm not the best when it comes to writing English. You know that. It's not my first language. But Bethany's always there to make those little editing and stuff like that before it gets sent out. So I got to tell you something. Bethany is really an asset to our organization here at the commission. She also gives feedback to us. So I really appreciate it because Bethany is formerly a teacher. And as a teacher, I really appreciate all the feedback that she can give us. You know, so I want to thank Bethany for all her hard work and the fact that she's always willing to step up and do what's best for the community. So I'd really like to take my hat off to that. Now, also, I want to acknowledge Mike Baer for all his hard work in the EPCAP program. It's a big responsibility at the EPCAP program because in the beginning, you know, he basically has to put in the video phones. You have to set up different, you know, group organizations as the liaison to get them, you know, access to all our services that are provided to the deaf community. That has, you know, improved tremendously. You know, he's a liaison to the police station to make sure that they get the right services in terms of how to provide services to protect the deaf and hard of hearing community. So there's been a big change due to Mike Baer. So he also is another individual who steps up. He also took up the CST since the COVID pandemic started because he was looking for a way how to advocate CST. And he wanted to have this so that everyone out in the community could have access to all the information that was going on that was related to the COVID-19, you know, because he wanted to keep the public safe. He wanted them to be aware of all the issues that were involved and, you know, and make it accessible to them. So he's made a big difference in people's lives when it came to the pandemic. And he's been working hard on the websites, putting in all the blogs and videos and stuff, the communication, keeping that access to communication open. And then also the testing center for the deaf and hard of hearing, he also set that up as well. I mean, it's just amazing all the work that Mike Baer is doing. He's rolling up his sleeves, always willing to keep communication and always looking for ways to improve upon that. And also now he's also involved with the press conference for Governor Gina Raimondo. For the press conferences that take place, he facilitates that to make sure that everything's in place so that Holly can get the interpreters and so that the governor can have their interpreters to make that information to the public that are deaf and hard of hearing. So he wants to keep everything, you know, running smoothly in terms of access to communication so that they can be on the same playing field, getting access to all the information that the general public gets. And he's quick to respond to Pam, and Pam is always out there to back him up to also get that information out there. And they work well late into the late hours of the night to get that information out. So he goes above, you know, the 8-hour day job. So thank you, Mike, for all the hard work that you do. I also want to talk the HTSP program in Rhode Island.
Mike is saying, thank you very much, Ernest. Thanks for your acknowledgement. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And then also I want to thank the HTSP program, Christine West, Alex
LaFerrier,
and also Lindsay Conway, Thomas Durant. What an amazing, you know, group of people there. They're just fantastic. When we hired them, you know, at first they're visionaries. They come up with, you know, great ideas, innovative ideas, thinking outside the box, trying to find ways how to work through and navigate through all this. It's just amazing creativity that's taking place, how to overcome the pandemic, you know, situation we're in. And the comments that are being made, the work that the HTSP team is doing is just amazing. And it's made a big difference in the state of Rhode Island. You know, it's only been a few months that they've been here, that they've been, you know, in place working, but so much has been accomplished. They've been filming the experiences of people who have had COVID, and they're watching people's, you know, journeys through this pandemic. He set up a lot of information in terms of training for healthcare providers. And all of that is not done yet. There's so much work to be done. There's a big need, and there's a lot of changes that we're making it such, and he's helping people get along into the change. And now also the interpreting training program that's taking place with Rhode Island College. So the HTSP program, I'd like to thank Christine West and the 3 members that are not here tonight, to thank them personally. But I want to thank everyone that even is not here, to all the hard work they've been doing. We value their hard work that they're doing, and they're donating of their time. You know, it's just the effort they're putting forth is just amazing. It's unparalleled. Thank you so much. Now, last but not least, I'd like to thank the staff support team. It's an important position, so let's not overlook them. I want to recognize Erin Furtado. Okay, she was the COVID coordinator who worked alongside Mike Baer in terms of reaching out to people, working side by side with Mike. So whatever Mike gave her to do, she followed up on that information, disseminating the information, setting up the meetings with CST. So I want to thank Erin Furtado as well. Even though she was here a short time, she worked very hard during that short time. And let's not forget Elizabeth Brown. Okay, so she was very willing and always willing to step up and give support in any way she could. She asked how to help people. She didn't wait for people to, you know, give her work. She just found it upon herself to say, is there anything I can do? Outreaching, following up. And I'd say, do you mind? And anytime I asked her to do something, she never said no. So I'd like to thank Elizabeth for all her work, even though she was unfortunately here for just a short time. Okay, and then there's another person named Lola. I forgot her name. She was a person of color who was working here for a short time. She worked with Mike for a little time, you know, helping Mike Baer, whatever he needed and so forth. So she would go in different places and to disseminate the video phones and explain to people how to use the video phones. Even though she was just here a short time and doesn't work here anymore, I'd like to recognize her hard work as well. And I just want to tell you that the Rhode Island Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing is an amazing state agency. I'm very fortunate to be among these people. They have made a difference in the state of Rhode Island, you know, and they've also been a great support to the 5 deaf agencies within our state. Even the state agencies that provide services to the community are acknowledging the change that's happening right now, that we're improving. And some of them, you know, nationwide, even in other states, they have to catch up to us, you know, because we are only 4 full-time faculty doing more work than most state agencies for the deaf and hard of hearing in other states, okay? And they said they've been watching what we're doing, and they've been giving us a lot of, you know, acknowledgments. You know, they know that the interpreting team with the CDIs, we're using deaf interpreters for a lot of the meetings. You know, all the information is getting disseminated. I think we are the most successful, you know, state agency with the deaf and hard of hearing throughout the country. There's not a lot of them out there, but what we have here in the state of Rhode Island is a great agency. We're supporting the community. And so they see, people are starting to acknowledge what we're doing and what we're accomplishing. And so we were always taking, you know, with the community criticism, we're taking that. Anything that the community has got something to say, we are listening to them because we will become better. Remember, we are serving the community. So I just want to say, you know, in terms of
the legislative
branch. Okay, legislation. So I want to thank also the Rhode Island community, Rhode Island Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, of getting that information out there. So I really just have to acknowledge everyone's hard work in terms of their contributions. Even though some of it's positive and negative, we do make a difference. I noticed that we have our flaws, you know, but we are making a difference. So I wanted to thank you for listening to my comments. Thank you so much. And so I'd like to take this moment to just wrap it up and say, thank you, Rhode Island Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. You're a great, wonderful team. Thank you.
Tim saying, thanks so much for your comprehensive report, Ernest. Betsy, did you have a comment?
You're on mute.
I just want to say something to Ernest. I'm an older woman.
I can do it. I can do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm an older woman. I've worked a lot of places. I've had a lot of different bosses. Not too many executive directors could make a speech like you just made. So that says a lot about you, about how positive you are, how affirming you are of people's work. And I think we're doing well because you're here as well.
That's great to hear. Tim saying, and Ernest is saying,
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you very much, Betsy.
This was a very comprehensive report. You shared a lot of information. I'm impressed. And congratulations again on completing your first year. We have a lot of things left to cover, and we'll try to move along as best we can. And I think we should prioritize some of these things. We have 6 candidates that we have interviewed who want to become commissioners. And we need to make a recommendation to Governor Raimondo for the appointments. There are 3 commissioners whose terms are ending. And the governor had told us we could continue with those appointments, that we can make these decisions if a person decides they want to leave or be, replaced. We do not have to tell them about that. We only have to tell them if there's a change, if there's a new person or a person leaving. But if a person is staying on, we do not have to tell the governor. We've been told that by her. So we have that directive, which is great. And so I'll just briefly touch on some of the comments so that we can wrap up. I want to make sure we only have 45 minutes left. So if it's all right, I would like to hold off on the committee reports, the education, employment, and healthcare one, until the next meeting. So we could get the full report at that point, just in the interest of time, if that's all right. So the next section, Caroline Obrecht, if you could, if you had 3 interviews, 3 people who were part of the interviews, myself, Brett Hayes, and I think Betsy Beach was at them. I'm sorry, the interpreter's correcting herself. Those are the 3 that are keeping their terms, wanting to continue their terms. So the other members can vote on that, but if you wouldn't mind taking over for this portion, and maybe we could go into closed session then. Hi, Caroline. Thank you.
So I just have a quick question. So do we need to go through the formal interview questions with the 3 of you, or can we simply ask if you would like to continue?
Tim is saying, My understanding is that they have actually all shown their interest in continuing. We've had updates on their information, those 3 commissioners. So I think that it would use up a lot of time to do a full interview process at this point. I think we could just move forward with approval.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay. So because Tim is one of the commissioners whose term is officially coming to an end, I'll be chairing this portion of the discussion about the 3 people whose appointments we would like to consider for renewal. So having said that, the top of my pile is Tim Riker. And I wonder if there's any comment or discussion from the commissioners as to whether or not we would like to see him continue as commissioner and our chairperson.
Oh,
Simon, do you
Sorry.
want me to take Tina? No, okay.
I would like to say that I would certainly like to have Tim Ricker stay on the commission and remain as the chair.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think I support her.
Is that
Bhumi, I support her, yes.
Bhumi, do you mean that you support what Tina just said?
Yes.
Thank you. Betsy?
I also support what Tina just said, and I'm willing to make a motion that we agree that he should remain and be able to be renewed in his term. Can I make the motion?
Can we just make sure there's no other comment or discussion? Anyone who might oppose this? Okay, Betsy, can you make your motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept Tim to carry on with this term that he is up for.
I would like to second that. And can we all vote in whatever fashion is most comfortable for us? Me, it's a thumbs up. Thank you, Kimmy. Bhumi, yes, okay. Tim, I think you just voted for yourself. All right, may he live long and prosper. So, moving along. Tim, do you want me to take over, continue with the discussion of Brett and
Tim's saying, I think it might, I mean, I actually could take back the chairing for those two because they're not concerning me. I don't have a conflict.
I was kind of enjoying it, but it's okay, it's okay.
You can certainly continue if you wish.
I don't like it. It's my first language. So if that's okay with you. Our next commissioner who
Sure.
is up
I'll
for
reduce my video.
continuation. Thank you. Our next commissioner who's up for continuation of his spot is Brett Hayes. Does anybody have any comments, thoughts that they would like to share? I would like to say something. I am thrilled that Brett is our treasurer. Not only do I not want to handle my own money, I certainly don't want to handle the commissions. So I am delighted that we have someone with such a strong business background who's willing to do this. And it's been a delight to have him on the commission. Betsy?
Yeah, I just think Brett contributes a lot. Does committee work, he does treasury work, and I always enjoy listening to his thoughts at the meetings. So I agree that he should continue.
Anyone else? Kimmy?
I really appreciate Brett, and I wish that he would continue as well. So I move to a motion that we keep Brett to stay on as treasurer.
Any seconds? Tina, thank you. Can we go to a vote? Giving my thumbs up. Great. Okay, Brett, congratulations. Job well
Thank you.
done.
I look forward to staying on as a commissioner and working with the healthcare committee, and I'm happy to continue being the treasurer. I haven't had much involvement with that. I haven't heard anything in a while, but I'm happy to continue that.
Fabulous, thank you.
Thank you.
And
I
then
appreciate your
lastly, we have Betsy Beach, who is wanting to continue her position as a hard of hearing commissioner. Any thoughts, comments?
I think that Betsy Beach has been so committed, volunteering her time,
beyond the call of duty, her secretary responsibilities and all of that, I would have no objection to her continuing her term.
I would agree with that. I feel like I personally have learned a lot from Betsy about technology. Tina,
I agree. You're on mute.
can't hear you.
Sorry. I agree. I believe Betsy is a great asset to the commission, and I would love to have her stay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Twice.
I'd like to add to that as well. I think Betsy's been a wonderful resource on the board, and she's very committed to the overall commission, and her experience is really valuable, and especially her role as the, I believe, secretary or the vice chairperson. So you're definitely, you both. That's how valuable you are.
Well, at different times,
We really appreciate it and really hope that you remain on the board. Thank you.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to vote that Betsy stayed on board as a commissioner.
Any second by Kimmy? Thank you.
Yes.
And can we take a vote? Thumbs up. Betsy, congratulations. Tim, I'm going to bid you a farewell.
I'm saying thank you. So it's back to me chairing the meeting. Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for all of that. And so we have the 7 people, and we have several other people who are candidates. We have available seats. I believe there are 4 available seats. I'm trying to remember, but we could add 4 more commissioners to get to a total of 11. Those 4 seats, we had 6 interviews, and we actually need to hear a motion to enter closed session so that we can continue the discussion that we started when we first were evaluating those candidates and make a decision whether or not we want to move forward with their candidacy. And I'm wondering if I could entertain a motion, if you could use the language that we need to enter closed session, and in the minutes, the agenda, it says pursuant to sections 20, 42, 46, 4. When you look under 7A, you actually have to use that language, and then we can move into closed session. So if people can see the agenda, they can use that language.
Okay.
And I can interpret it.
Okay, thank you. So I move that pursuant sections 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A1 of the Rhode Island General Laws for the purposes of discussing job performance, character, physical, or mental health of applicants for the commissioner's seat, I vote that we move to an executive session.
Tim saying, very good. Is there a second to Carolyn's motion? Kimmy. Okay, Kimmy Marthers has seconded. Are all in support? Can I see a show of thumbs up? I see 3, 4, 5, 6. And Boomy? There you are. Very good. Thank you. A unanimous approval, no objections. So we will now have a closed meeting, which means that during this time, the public will be asked to leave for us to be able to pursue this closed session, because it's related to people who have specifically applied to become commissioners, and we need to respect their privacy, confidentiality. So I'm going to wait to see, Bethany can help me with this to make sure that the people who are not commissioners remove themselves.
You're on mute, Bethany.
I can put them in the waiting room. Would you, will you be welcoming them back in? We have 30 minutes left in the meeting.
I'm not sure, actually, then. We have CART reporters available. And if they go into the waiting room and then they come back, I think that they will not get the CART notes. I'm scared that they may be able to see the CART notes that have been taken during the time that they were away. So that's a concern if they're still in the same meeting, but only in a waiting room.
Well, isn't it kind of similar to having the CART interpreter in when we had the meeting on site? It was all recorded, or did that CART person leave the room? I can't remember.
I think.
Right, Bethany?
I think that it's also more of a issue that there may not be time coming back because there's only 30 minutes left at the meeting. So there was one question in the chat that says, will they go to a breakout room or will you come back to the open session?
Tim saying, I would have them close, I think it's up to people themselves. If they want to wait, we might use the whole 30 minutes and they won't be able to come back to the main session. We have some agenda items that we won't be able to cover tonight. So those might get tabled. And I think it's up to people. You know, we don't know how much will be available at the end. Maybe we'll only have 5 minutes back. So I would leave it up to their discretion if they want to stay on and hope that we get back together, or if not, if they want to just leave for the evening. Okay, very good.
Excuse me, a quick CART note. Could you ask Kimmy if she spells her name K-I-M-M-Y or K-I-M-M-I-E? Thank you.
That's funny because my name is actually K-I-M-I. That's what there's two M's, sorry, K-I-M-M-I. That's how it's usually spelled. There's no I-E or Y.
Thank you.
And Tim's saying, oh my gosh, I've been saying I-E all night.
Who is K in the participant list that has not listed their full name?
Bethany, that's me. I'm looking at my captions. This is the CART provider. I view my captions through that.
Okay, thank you.
Tim's saying, very good. So we're beginning this. We have 15 people in the room, it looks like, on the participant list. And I just want to make sure. So Bethany, we're all set then, right? As far as who should be still here?
You
Good.
You might want to do a quick check on the participant list. And I will stop the recording as Ernest is saying.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Okay, and Tim's saying. Okay, so we're back in open session. And I know our time is running out for the evening. So we have a motion on the floor that we can entertain at this point, or we can hear a motion if somebody would make a motion that we have two candidates that we would like to suggest to recommend to the governor for appointment. Brett, you're on screen, but I don't know if you're there to make a motion or not. We can see your video.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Okay, so is anybody there who would make a motion for those two applicants? Yes, Betsy.
I move that we recommend Drew Balsley and David Maloney to the governor for approval.
Seconded.
Bhumi is seconding?
Yes.
Very good. All right, so then are all in favor? Okay, very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. All 7 commissioners. So that motion passes. So I will make a recommendation to Governor Raimondo. And then obviously it's up to the governor to actually appoint the members. The Rhode Island Commission for the staff, the executive director can then inform those 2 candidates that we have moved forward on recommending their names to the governor. And then obviously it's up to the governor to appoint, so we'll wait to see her decision. And now it is pretty much 6 o'clock. So we have finished making those recommendations. And I wanted to just talk briefly about the interpreter referral, the ad hoc committee we've spoken about. We have 4 people who have commented to me that they want to have more time for input. So what I have is the Rhode Island RID has sent me interests. Brett Hayes, who's a commissioner, is interested in being on the committee. And we have Rain Depucott, who's interested. And then there's another member, another person. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking, oh, Rhode Island Association of the Deaf, the RIAD. They said they needed time to discuss with their members, with their board of directors, and see if they could pick somebody who could be on it. Given that, we need more time. So I just wanted to communicate with the community and the general public that you can send me your personal nominations or any interest that you have in being on the committee.
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that I plan on setting up a meeting with the Rhode Island Association of Deaf and kind of work on, policies, press policies and so forth. So it's developing right now. It's in the draft format. And then once we have another committee that's actually established, I'm going to submit that to the committee. And so I'm going to actually start the paperwork and get ahead of time. So I don't want to wait till the committee's actually established. And then once that ad hoc committee is established, then they can look at all the things that we recommend that need to have policies set on.
Great. I'll make a vlog as well and send that out so that the community is aware. And then we could draw in more applicants. And also, I feel like we need to think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ernest.
Yes, and I got RIA sent me saying what is the
criteria
protocol, the criteria for selecting the people for the ad hoc committee. So they want to get an idea of, can they just pick anybody? Can they nominate somebody? How we approve and how we disapprove.
Thank you for that. So it's past 6, it's 6:04. We're over the time that we've allotted for our meeting. So we should check in with the interpreters in the cart. You were booked until 6. Are you available? Do you have some flexibility? Joan is available. How about Simon? Some more flexibility for the rest of the time. And Catherine, are you able to continue cart reporting?
Yes, I can. How long?
I don't want to drag this out. I want to respect everyone's time. So
I can't go for more than an hour. That's my only thing. The cart can't go for more than an hour.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of 7 o'clock. No, well before that. All right. So I'm thinking, people have to cook dinner. We're all, I appreciate people giving up their late afternoon to come to this meeting. And no, there's only a few points I want to talk about with the criteria for the ad hoc committee, how we're going to make a decision about who's going to be a member of that committee. And I'm aware that there is some discussion. We want to have representatives of both RID and RIAD so that we have those 2 stakeholders involved in the committee and we hear their voice. And then we also need to have a person who is a commissioner, at least one. And we then should also have a person who's deaf or hard of hearing. And of course, those people could also be one of those other roles.
the commissioner could be themselves deaf or hard of hearing, and then not have to have a separate person. So as far as the criteria, anything other than what I've just said, we could have consumers and interpreters, and I think that would, we're talking about the interpretive referral, that's going to impact the community. It's going to affect both consumers. We want to make sure that the consumers feel comfortable discussing things about interpreters. And if the interpreters have a concern about the referral or something else, there may be a conflict about how we want to share that. If a consumer has an issue about a specific interpreter and the interpreter's on the committee or something. And I don't want to make it more complicated, but if other people have any feedback or suggestions. Tina, I saw a chat from you yourself being interested in being on the ad hoc committee. Okay, but if there's any other comments about what I just mentioned. I'm just going to wait to see if I see another comment wanting clear criteria. Yes, Rosa.
I have a question, okay? How is the decision made when you pick someone to be a good match or not? So what I'm looking for in terms of the criteria, I know that I said it'd be nice if it would be, a good idea if this and if that, but exactly what is the criteria? Because we don't have a criteria set in place yet, okay? So now you know these people apply and then you pick one. So it's going to be based on what? If people start to challenge it or ask why they weren't picked. So I just want to know that it's, it's fair. They want the transparency in terms of how this is all, being accomplished.
Yes, those are the kinds of things I've been thinking about too. So we're on the same page, how to actually bring these people onto a committee. I mean, I don't want to have
favoritism.
And if we set up criteria, it has to be objective and fair. And I'm wondering if the commissioners could share anything related to that. Yes, Betsy, go ahead.
I mean, my thought is that it kind of should be a longer discussion. It seems like, I mean, we set up a committee to get a new executive director, and it's kind of the model I'm thinking of. And in order to do that, the executive board of the commission, which is you, the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer, we got together and really thought about how to form that search committee. And I think it's hard, at the end of a meeting to have a lot of, I think a working group needs to think about how to set it up and have some criteria. I mean, I would nominate our executive committee to maybe do that. That's my thought.
So, all right, so Betsy's thinking of referring this to the executive committee so that the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer could meet and talk about the criteria. Carolyn?
I like Betsy's idea about a one, maybe two-time meeting of the executive board, but I want to be careful that we don't set up a committee to select the committee. I think we really need to get moving with this. And so let's get the executive board together to make a plan as to how to do it, how to recruit from different groups. And as Rosa said, establish the criteria so that people know what exactly we're looking for, and they can have some input as to whether or not they agree with that criteria.
Tim saying yes. Okay.
I agree. I mean, it is time to move forward with this. At the same time, we want to do it right. And that's important as well. So we have to balance those two objectives. I'm scared about putting it off to January and February and then finally getting a committee going. I'd like to do it as soon as possible, like possibly in November. Tina?
I just looked it up online and there is a section in Robert's Rules of Order about establishing an ad hoc committee. So after this, I'm going to go read that and see what it says.
Okay, thank you. And if you could send that information to me in an email, that would be very helpful. So it seems like, at least what I'm hearing is a recommendation to refer this to the executive committee and for us to develop criteria that we would then bring back to the full board, full commission to approve. And I'm just reading something on the chat to me. Rosa Norberg's commenting in the chat. Yes, Rosa.
Yes, I'm just trying to think, I'm taking into consideration everybody's concerns and stuff, but when we talk about ad hoc, okay? Now, in the past, when I sent an email to Ernest, I said, do you mind if we can basically, if the Rhode Island Association of Rhode Island Interpreters for the Deaf get together to create that policy? And so we can start a draft to start the ball rolling, whether that can be accepted or not. And the next thing I know, there was an ad hoc committee already being set up. Okay, but the policy never took place. So, I know that, we already voted on it and it's passed, with the executive commission to decide to go ahead and proceed with that. But I was just wondering, is it really required to have an ad hoc committee? Or can the executive director actually run that and do that themselves without getting an ad hoc committee? So I'm just throwing that out there.
Thank you for that comment. So the policy itself, the ad hoc committee, the purpose of it would be to collect information from consumers, interpreters, concerns, challenges, not just the policy. We've also gotten letters from the RAAD that it feels like needs more attention in this topic, because a big part of the commission is interpreter referral. And the purpose would be to create a safe space for stakeholders in the community and staff and the commissioners to be working together in partnership, because it impacts the long-term big picture. And that's why we thought we would establish an ad hoc. It's just temporary. It doesn't have to be a permanent or standing committee that's going to go for 2 or 3 years, but that we could address these larger needs. And I see Rain has sent me a message on the chat that you want to make a comment. Rain?
Thank you. So there are 2 things I want to mention. They're going to be very brief. The first one is, I just want to add that if we go ahead and proceed this to referral to the executive board to do so, to have that discussion for the criteria to decide upon that, then where's the feedback coming in from the general public? Because say, it's good to have everyone's feedback from all the stakeholders out there in the community. So that's a good thing. But at the same time, the commissioners are not interpreters, and nor do they use interpreters sometimes. So I'm wondering, if we should, I see 4 cameras on it, I see 5 now.
Yes, if Betsy, if you could reduce your video until Rain is finished with her comment, and then Betsy, you certainly can comment.
Okay, thank you. So if the commissioner, gathers among yourselves to have this discussion, there's some, you're very familiar with the referral service, but there are some people that are not familiar with the process of the interpreter referral service because they don't use interpreters or whatever the case may be. But if you don't, include the community of the stakeholders that are like interpreters themselves or consumers that use interpreters, there could be a potential to overlook their concerns. So what I suggest is that when you have your discussion among yourselves to have that criteria established, then bring it back to the meeting to have an open meeting, okay? And give that opportunity for the public, for public comment in terms of interpreters and, consumers. That's just a suggestion. Doesn't have to be a big discussion or anything like that, but just to be able to respond because there might be something that's overlooked in setting up that criteria. Now, the second thing I would like to address is, I wrote notes and I still forgot. Okay, give me a second. It'll come to my mind. It's at the tip of my fingers. Shoot. Oh, I remember. So I wrote the wrong word in my notes. Okay, so, obviously the Rhode Island deaf community and the interpreting community is a very small community, especially when we talk about interpreters who freelance and interpreters who actually, come to this meeting from time to time that are frequenting this meeting. It is a small community. So the options for an ad hoc committee is really limited. So when you talk about the criteria, it's going to be very stringent and put in place, but it's going to eliminate a lot of people who have great ideas because of the resources, because it's a small community. Because many of the people have, roles. Many of them, jump in roles in different positions. For example, RI, RIAD have two presidents. RI, RID has two presidents, okay, and a co-president. They have president and co-president. They say they can't represent, like, for example, they can't be from the board. So that eliminates those two people because they're on a board. So that's just an example of one area where they're. Now, when you talk about the Rhode Island Association for the Deaf, there are many deaf people who work for Perspectives. And so they're going to be eliminated. So that keeps your pool even smaller. So I just want to keep that in mind. So as you meet, the members in the community is going to be depleted. Yet we value the community that we serve. So I'm afraid, that we don't want to overlook them because of the fact that they are serving on positions that is a conflict.
So Tim's saying being a board member should not be an issue. There could be a conflict of interest about funding, like if you own an interpreter agency, or if you're involved with interpreting services that are conflicting with the Rhode Island Commission for the Deaf referral. That would be a conflict of interest, but I'm not so much concerned with people who are themselves board members of other agencies or organizations. I'm happy to continue discussing this, and I think Betsy Beach wanted to make a comment as well. I saw her pop up earlier. Yes, Betsy. Oh, yeah.
You're on mute, Betsy.
Okay, well, we can't leave hearing aid users out of this conversation because we use CART for the Hearing Loss Association meetings. We can't have those meetings unless we have CART interpretation. And if a group of us wants to attend a forum that's being presented, there was a senior agenda forum that we wanted to attend, in a big room, and we would not be able to hear anything without CART there. So it's not only the availability of sign language, American Sign Language interpreters, but it's the availability of captioning for people with hearing aids. So I want to make sure that there's somebody that can strongly put that on the agenda, because everybody has their own slice, but that's what I tend to look at. And it's really necessary. It's necessary whenever I go to a big workshop or conference. I need some kind of captioning. I guess the other thing is, I believe the public may be able to go to executive board meetings. I mean, the agenda's published. It's an open meeting. So it's not really excluding any community input. I believe that we have had executive board meetings with one or two people from the public there in the past.
Okay. And I just wanted to let you know, we wouldn't be voting and making a decision, the executive, it'd be a working group.
And then we'd bring it back to the full commission, which of course would be a public meeting, and we would discuss and vote on it. So the small group would not vote on criteria and make a decision about criteria. We would always bring it back to the full group. I saw somebody from the comments, Danielle Laughlin from the Rhode Island Association of the Deaf wanted to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to add on to what Rain Deputy Cat had said, that the people in the community, you know, we're already filtering them out. So I already just, you know, disagree with people who own interpreting agencies and so forth, you know, because they know the system, they're kind of the experts. And so, you know, I just, you know, I mean, they may have some great ideas, but I think it's wrong to have them excluded because maybe they're trying to support us. We don't know that. So we can't assume too much. So, you know, because it is a small community and we start to, you know, eliminating people, then we have nothing. So then it limits our resources.
Thank you. So the committee, it could have, let's say, up to 7 people, and it's still open to the public. People can come and comment. We could collect information from other people. So it doesn't mean like it's closed to only the members that we're talking about within the community, but the people who could finalize a report, let's say, or make recommendations, that should be a number of members that fit a certain criteria. That's what I'm saying. So I wouldn't be trying to limit or restrict other people. Are there other comments or discussion about this? Because we are going to refer it, I think, to executive committee to discuss the criteria and then bring it back. So I'm willing to hear final comments at this point. I know everybody's giving up their time, and so I want to be respectful of that. I know everybody's giving up time, and I want to be respectful of that. All right, I'm not hearing that. So I'm not hearing comments about that. So at that point, I'm going to take the criteria issue. I'll work with Ernest to find a time that the 4 of us can meet on the executive committee to discuss this. I don't know if there's any other business that needs to be finished tonight.
Yes, it's almost an hour going into a little over.
So what do we need? Ernest, I'm sorry. The coffee hour, what are you saying it needs to be? What needs to be discussed tonight?
No, what I was asking is the commissioners is if it's possible, if we can ask, you know, for the awards and so forth, you know, because we haven't really had any nominations for awards. So I wanted to, you know, ask the committee if they can focus on, you know, a group of diversified people, especially BIPOC people, to recognize them, you know, because historically there are a lot of issues out there. And we never really gave any recipients awards from that population. So I think that would be a good idea to address that as well.
Thank you, Ernest. I do see that on the agenda under 9B, yes. Yeah, we don't want to use up a lot of our time, but it is important. And at this point, we have not received any nominations. I think we only sent out a notice once, so we do need to renew that, but time is getting short because November is the coffee hour. We're coming up to November in less than 2 weeks. Is there any, you know, we have the nominations for the recognition awards that we need to have for that coffee hour. I don't know if there's any other comments from other commissioners or other people in the public who have comments about that. I'd like to discuss that a little right now, since time is so short before November. This meeting has been long. I realize that, so it's hard. Ernest, do you have any suggestions about what to do? I mean, I know it's getting tight and we don't have nominations.
Well, Tim, you know, I really don't have any, but we can actually cancel the award session if we don't. But we should still go and proceed with the coffee hour nonetheless. And then if we don't get any nominations or anything like that, or recommendations from the community, we can, you know, put that off to the next year. You know, but we should still go ahead and proceed with the coffee hour because we do have, you know, presenters in place and so forth, and we have the exhibitors as well. So, I mean, you know, I'm just waiting for nominations. I haven't heard anything from anybody. So if we don't get that part, we'll probably just drop that from the agenda of the coffee hour.
Are there any other comments that other people have to add about the awards? Can we close the discussion about nominations for awards, recognition awards? Betsy, yes.
I think awards are really good when the person's there to receive them, you know, doing it virtually. I just think we skipped this year. And hopefully next year we can be in person somehow.
Yes, thank you. I mean, we could throw out the idea of having like we could suspend it for this year. But after COVID is over, we could have a special award ceremony, some sort of an event. It doesn't have to be the coffee hour. It could be later on in the year. It's possible that we could think of something so we don't have to wait till November of 2021. Maybe we could have something, you know, once there's a little more, the numbers are down in COVID, we might feel free to meet. Other comments? Now it's almost 6:30, so I think everybody is ready to wrap up this meeting. I'm just trying to see if there's any other items on the agenda that need to be decided right now. There's something in unfinished business where it's related to the Rhode Island Commission for the Deaf Needs Assessment Project. And that's very, very brief. The committees that are under the commission have been in contact with Shane Feldman. Shane Feldman, he's our consultant through the company that it's Invi Strategies, and he's going to be contacting each committee. He wants to have contact that he can then get some information from each committee for the strategic plan. A little bit more like data, how you can gauge where we're at right now, baseline, and then something that we could compare for the future. Has situation gotten better for the Rhode Island deaf and hard of hearing community, or the situation's gotten worse? So that's part of this needs assessment. It's something Shane is working on, and we want to start putting it into each committee's agenda so that we can make sure that that data goes to Shane.
Yes, I think there's just one more item I would like to address when we talk about the evaluations. We can hold off on the evaluations and put that off to the next meeting.
For the executive
We're supposed to do
director.
evaluations.
Yes. And again, maybe that should be referred to the executive committee.
Yes, we can do that.
We could look at what the goals and expectations are and bring it back to another larger meeting.
Yes, that would be fine, Tim. I agree.
All right, so we're referring two things to the executive committee. We'll meet and we'll focus on the interpretive referral ad hoc committee and the criteria for membership. And the other will be related to the evaluation for the executive director. We have the one from 2012, and we're going to work on the state system. It's called Neologic, I think it's what it's called, their system, the state system. They have an evaluation system that's an electronic system in place. And we want to find out if that fits our needs. I mean, there's been so many things coming up that we haven't really had a chance to review it. So do people agree with referring those two to the executive committee? Does everybody feel comfortable with those two items?
I do. I'm comfortable with that.
Caroline? Okay,
Yeah, me too.
Betsy saying yes.
I'm good.
All right, Brett, I see you. Kimmy, yes. Very good. Thank you for everybody's comments. So we'll refer those two to the executive committee. And we're so over time, I think we're done. And I think we've handled the main issues that we have to. It is 6:31. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much for giving up your time to attend this meeting. And I know we want to see improvements in the Rhode Island deaf and interpreter community. So we've made a lot of progress. We have more to go. Thank you so much. Thanks to the
Bye.
interpreters
Good night.
tonight
Thank you
and
so
to the
much.
court reporter for being flexible and extending the time. Everybody can open up their videos. And Bethany, thank you so much for your hard work coordinating this and running the Zoom.
Yes.
And then
I'm
we can
sorry. I'm sorry, this is the captioner. I do need to speak to Tim before he hangs up and Bethany, so that's fine. Just stay on the line if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yes, I'll stay, Tim saying. But now that I can see everybody's faces, I want to wish everyone a good evening. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Good
Tim
night.
and Bethany, do you want the interpreter to stay for Kit?